hardball with congressional Republicans who are investigating the Russia collusion probe. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is in Washington tonight to tell us about it. Hello, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Chris. The emails reviewed by Fox News were sent to the House Office of General Counsel to document the January closed-door meeting that included Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, FBI Director Christopher Wray, their senior advisors, as well as the Republican House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes and his senior staff. The account claimed Rosenstein threatened to turn the tables on the committee regarding the Russia probe. Quote, the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein criticized the committee for sending our requests in writing and was further critical of the committee's request to have DOJ FBI do the same when responding. Committee investigator Kash Patel wrote, going so far as to say that if the committee likes being litigators, then we, the Justice Department, too, are litigators, and we will subpoena your records and your emails, referring to the House committee and Congress overall. The emails reviewed by Fox News indicate a second committee staffer at the meeting backed up the account, writing, quote, let me just add that watching the Deputy Attorney General launch a sustained personal attack against a congressional staffer in retaliation for vigorous oversight was astonishing and disheartening. Also, having the nation's #1 for these matters law enforcement officer threaten to subpoena your calls and your emails was downright chilling. Both the FBI and Justice Department disputed the characterization. A Justice Department official told Fox News Rosenstein never threatened a criminal investigation, writing, the Deputy Attorney General was making the point, after being threatened with contempt, that as an American citizen charged with the offense of contempt of Congress, he would have the right to defend himself, including requesting production of relevant emails and text messages, and calling them as witnesses to demonstrate that their allegations are false. The official went further, saying the Deputy Attorney General, quote, will further request the House General Counsel conduct an internal investigation of these congressional staffers' conduct. Adding, Chairman Nunes did not complain after the meeting at a dinner with Rosenstein and a mutual friend. In a statement to Fox News, Nunes said they take staff concerns seriously and referred the matter to the Speaker's office. A source close to the Speaker said they have encouraged the committee to work through the Justice Department's Inspector General's office. The Justice Department official said no formal complaint has been filed at this time, Chris.
Catherine, thank you.
You're welcome.
More disturbing details about Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein emerging. Rosenstein, back in January, threatened to subpoena emails and phone records from the staffers of the House Intelligence Committee that was conducting oversight of DOJ and its corruption. One staff member reacted to Rosenstein's shocking threats by saying, quote, watching the Deputy Attorney General launch a sustained personal attack against a congressional staffer in retaliation for vigorous oversight was astonishing and disheartening. Also, having the nation's #1 for these matters law enforcement officer threaten to subpoena your calls and emails was downright chilling. Joining us tonight is Kimberly Strassel, a member of the editorial board for the Wall Street Journal, whose reporting on the deep state and the Department of Justice corruption has been exemplary and leading the way often. Great to have you with us, Kimberly. First, your reaction to Rosenstein's outright threat, attempted intimidation of a committee that holds oversight authorities and responsibilities over DOJ.
Yeah, hi, Lou. We're moving into gravely serious territory here, because by this account, in this January meeting, according to at least 2 staffers, that in the middle of a discussion about their oversight duties, this was when Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein launched into this threat, which definitely does sound as though he was saying, back off. If you continue to engage in oversight the way that you are, I will retaliate, and I have the full force of the government behind me. Now, I should hasten to say the Department of Justice is pushing back. They are claiming that this was Mr. Rosenstein responding to the prospect that he might have a contempt citation leveled against him, and that this was how he was responding to that. But the staffers disagree, and if their account is correct, this is a Department of Justice that really seems to no longer know its boundaries.
Yeah, it seems that Rosenstein is also the fulcrum for most of this, whether it be FISA authorizations, whether it be expeditions to London, he is playing a very heavy hand here in what seems to be obvious political corruption at the highest levels of the Justice Department.
Well, here's what you would hope to see from a Trump Justice Department, by the way. These were people that were put in, just as they were in other agencies. They were supposed to go in and be reformers. But not only have we seen now this allegation of threats, but you've got a Department of Justice and FBI that have flouted subpoenas after subpoenas. They appear to be flouting one tonight. There was a new deadline from House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes to hand over the details, let them see the documents related to this spy who was monitoring and looking into the Trump campaign. It would appear, we've now blown past normal business hours, that they're not going to comply with that tonight. So they've done that. There are the threats. There's the redactions where they continue to hide information. We just got a new letter from Senator Ron Johnson today showing how they had deliberately hid the names of different people involved in the investigation so that Congress couldn't investigate.
And we have an IG report that's going to be coming forward Thursday. We're told that it's heavily redacted. I do not know that to be the case. I hear that is the case. But if it's redacted as heavily as is being suggested, we're, it seems to me, spiraling toward a constitutional crisis. And the only solution I see, Kimberly, is for the president himself to step in and say, this ends now, turn over all of the documents. It's a direct order from the President of the United States to an executive branch and its leaders to do so forthwith. Your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. Declassify, put out there the documents related to this informant, put out there the documents related, put out the FISA application that was put forward so that Americans can see for themselves how the FBI handled itself in 2016 with regard to both the Clinton investigation and the Trump investigation, because it is evidently clear that they are hiding things and that they will never willingly hand it over themselves.
Kimberly Strassel, thanks so much for being with us. And again, we applaud your work, your extraordinary reporting, and thank you so much. Come back soon.
Mr. Attorney General, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you, Tucker.
So I want to ask you about this, but first I have to ask about a piece of breaking news our Catherine Herridge just has out saying that in January of this year, January 10th, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein went up to the Hill, met with Republican members of the House Intel Committee, had a dispute with them, and threatened them with a subpoena of their emails and phone records. This is what one of them said. I read it as a not-so-veiled threat to unleash the full prosecutorial power of the state against us. DOJ on background has confirmed that something like that did happen. What is that about?
Well, I don't know that they've confirmed that exactly. In fact, the FBI director, the senior ethics attorney for the Department of Justice who was in the room, say that's a mischaracterization, really, of what occurred. And it also, I think, indicates that there's been a breakdown of relationships when, in fact, since January, a great deal of progress has been made. We understand in this department that we are accountable to the president, we are accountable to Congress, and we need to be cooperative with them to produce as many documents as rationally and legally and properly as can be produced, to produce them, and we've made tremendous progress in that regard, really.
Did the Deputy Attorney General threaten to subpoena the email or phone records of members of the House Intel Committee?
Well, I was not in the room, and I can't speak to what occurred. All I can say is that the people at Chris Wray, the director of the FBI, and our senior ethics attorney was there, and others, and did not see it in that same fashion.
Okay, so as a factual matter, you don't think that that happened?
I'm confident that Deputy Rosenstein, 28 years in the Department of Justice, did not improperly threaten anyone on that occasion. But we do believe that we have tried to be cooperative with them and made progress in months as the months have gone by, and in fact have had some good relationships with top members of Congress.
Okay. So you have made news recently by undoing an Obama-era rule about asylum seekers. Give us the overview. I think most Americans like the idea that this would be a haven for people suffering around the world. Lots of people claim asylum. What do we know about the veracity of their claims?
That's a good question. 7 years ago, 5,000 people were applied for asylum, claiming a credible fear of being at home in their home country, and they needed to flee that country. That number jumped to 94,000 in just 7 years. It's overwhelming our system. Over 80% of those claims are being denied by the immigration judges as being not meritorious. So it is a big problem for us, but it's each one of those is requiring trials and factual decisions by our judges. We're going to add 100 judges, and that may not yet be enough judges to handle the cases. We need to give the judges better guidance. They need to go back to the fundamental principles and laws and rules of the Immigration and Nationalization Act. And if we do that, then we're in a position where some of these cases can be promptly decided. You do not get to come to America if you have a private threat or someone personally attacks you. You do not get to have asylum for that. It's based on your race, your religion, your nationality, that you're part of some special identifiable group that's being persecuted in your home country. That's what it takes to have an asylum, and we need to get this straight, and I think it will help us. The decision I made, I believe it's right legally. I'm totally confident it's consistent with the intent of the drafters of the INA, our law, and I believe it will help us manage our caseloads better and give more focus to the people who deserve to be given asylum and help us eliminate those that are not worthy of this asylum.
Well, if over 80% of the applications are fraudulent, there's obviously a problem. So the DOJ has also recently weighed in on the question of speech on campus. What can the federal government do, the Department of Justice do, to ensure that people's First Amendment rights are protected? And why is it take until 2018 to get DOJ involved in this?
It's one of the big challenges of our time. I have come to believe, and it's almost unbelievable, that major colleges and universities would be taking action that restrict the right of free speech on a college campus. It's just got to be confronted. We have the authority under law to file a statement of interest in an ongoing litigation. So cases are being filed against the universities by students who complain, and if we think their complaints are meritorious, then we can file a statement of interest joining with them and explaining why we at the Department of Justice thinks these concerns are real and justified, and a court relief is appropriate. So we've had some success. We've had 2 cases where there's been a major change in the college and university's actions, and 2 cases where the judge has dismissed or rejected a motion to dismiss these cases by the universities and allowing the trials to go forward. We think it's a very important thing. Students should be participating in robust debate. They ought not to be intimidated. They ought not to be driven by political correctness to where you can't even speak up in class or on campus.
It's just amazing what an upside-down world it is when a conservative attorney general is defending the First Amendment against liberals. It's like things have changed almost too much. Mr. Attorney General, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.